Welcome to Vitamin B with Mohana. This is where we help you take control of your well-being. My guest today is Dr. Anita Prasad, the first trans woman of Indian origin in Germany and Europe. We're going to be talking about a very interesting space around the LGBTQ++ community.
Mine is a pretty unique case if you see this. At the age of 45 and 50, you're transitioning from male to female.
Yeah.
Sufficient time has to be provided for someone to really come out with that kind of understanding that they're not going to detransition. So when someone is transitioning, even then, the assessment has to be 100%. Gender is a myth. Today, do you know the number of genders that exist? Person was born in Japan.
Yeah.
He felt like he is a dog. And he went and changed his complete appearance as a dog. Somebody did a random survey. India as a country has about 59% of population is bisexuals. Transsexual identity is someone who is saying that I want to change. Cisgender is male or female.
And pansexual?
Intersex is a person where...
What is that entire experience that you had to go through to become a woman?
Let me tell you this, there is no process in India.
Okay.
There is no procedure, there is no standard, there is nothing. It takes about 3 to 10 years of time.
Wow.
They say that you have to go through this kind of hormone therapy. Do not go through any sort of urgency. Their life is very, very fragile. It's like a glass. Like, for example, what happens in the Middle East, for example. They kill you. They stone you to death. So if at all we need to make an effort, first of all, we need to learn humanity. What is humanity firstly?
Gender reassignments are a debate around the world today. Let's look at how the transgender community has evolved over time and really, ultimately, how do we create an inclusive society at large in India and around the world. So join us, sit back, enjoy and relax. Welcome to Vitamin B, Anita. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mohana.
Anita, I'm so happy because a few days back we met and it's been forever since I met in Indranagar in Asha Sweets. And I thought that was amazing to go there and go hyper local. And I really enjoyed my conversation with you.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
So how has life been? You are on so many podcasts. You are, especially in Karnataka, there's so much of your voice out there. So how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great because this kind of an awareness and the communication was pretty necessary. And always there have been stories. It's not, nothing new. Everyone hear about all the problems. There's nothing seriously concerning or connected to how the life changes are, what sort of an impact is taking place and how the whole directions are changing and how the lives are changed currently. So I think this is a very important journey, which I actually wanted to share. And mine is a pretty unique case if you see this. At the age of 45 and 50, you are converting, you are transitioning from male to female, which is quite exciting and, quite disturbing to a lot of people who are actually going through gender identity crisis and so on, which many people think that this is a gender identity or any sort of, 50th year identity crisis that they encounter, but this is not, which we will discuss it more at a later point of time. I think people should not get confused, I would say, with the various other topics. So we will deep dive and I hope that, we'll have more time onto all these things.
We will. So firstly, let's start, Anita, by you've been now a woman by gender, right? In the last few years.
Yes.
How has life been? Is it different? Are you feeling like there's a significant change?
Yeah, the pocket sizes are very small.
On a lighter note, right? Yeah.
So I am witnessing a lot of issues as a man, as a woman. It is pretty, difficult and a strange topic that takes place with people. And what you encounter is completely different. What is a woman has to be, one has to live like a woman. Then
Yeah.
only you can try to understand what is this and what does those restrooms looks like,
Yeah.
and what sort of people are we, let's say meeting everyday basis.
Right.
So these are all very important. And what kind of a respect do the patriarchal society that we live in provide?
Yeah.
So these matter a lot. It's not like being a woman or something, but how they respect, how they behave with people. I think these are something what I'm able to figure out much more in depth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the roles that a woman go through and the respect that a woman gets in return in our society is quite, really amazing.
It's different from a man, right? Certainly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Anita, what I want to really understand is at the age of 45, right? From Srinivas Prasad, today you're Anita Prasad,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So, what happened? What happened in your case, right?
Yeah, actually, it's quite a fascinating story that I think the world has to hear it. It's nothing but I didn't know that, what exactly the issue was in the beginning. I first started with the high blood pressure. I wanted to go to, the Mount Kailash along with Sadhguru. And I had planned for my tickets. I paid the full money. I had prepared everything. So the time when I went to the doctor, he told me that he diagnosed me with a high blood pressure. He said, "Hey, you have something called as high blood pressure." I said, "Is it so?" And doctor said, "All your employees are coming to me. They're all fine. But what is wrong with you? And why are you getting into all these things?" I said, "Don't know nothing, doctor, but I think it's more something to do with, any other factor." And he prescribed me with a small beta blocker. That's where you start your journey with high blood pressure. But the blood pressure never stopped.
Yeah.
It continued and continued, and it went into much more anxiety-related topics as well. And it led me to a lot of, the bigger hospitals in Germany, ambulance coming and picking me up.
You were in Germany at that time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ambulance coming and picking me up. No one was able to figure out what the issue was.
Okay.
And the whole body was scanned. They actually took the X-ray and, MRI. Nothing was found. They said, "Everything is fine. You're not supposed to be here. Why are you coming?" So repeatedly, every alternate day or every week, you're frequenting, actually. So what should be the kind of a case that, we should consider, and how we should see your case? So they're not able to figure out. They know one Indian is coming. They prepare. The ambulance staff already know me. This Indian guy is going to come. They're in expectation for sure. And once I go into the ICU, I know the kind of pain what I undergo with a very high heart rate. And I lie for a few hours, take heavy amount of, anxiety pills, depressants, everything, whatever possible, they load me, including nitro shots, everything, so that it should not affect the heart, which I was not supposed to get. And I went through a lot of serious issues.
Sure.
And then later part of time, one doctor came and said, "Why don't you consult a psychiatrist? Because you are frequenting so often. We don't want to see you here. I mean, you're suffering too much. And it's just a, friendly advice for you. So please do consult a psychiatrist." In our clinicum, we call it as bigger hospital as clinicum in Germany. We don't have a doctor here in our clinicum. So please, why don't you consult a private practitioner outside? I went to some people, asked them for an appointment. Because the psychiatrists are running so full, they offered me a spot somewhere after a year or so.
Okay.
I know that I cannot survive for a year. So there's no doctor who's ready to take something in an emergency basis unless you are admitted to ICU.
Okay.
So you're not going to be treated. So even in ICU or an emergency case, in Germany, you got to wait because the doctors are not available. This is the state, state of affair for medical, attention that we blame our country for sure. Someone has to really see what's happening abroad.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, I went to all these scanning, everything once again,
Yeah.
frequenting the hospitals once again. But in the meantime, I got the appointment with a doctor who's almost like 75 kilometers away from the city. And he is living in some suburb, and I caught hold of him. But fortunately, he is one of the major, I mean, let's say the top 3 doctors in the world for psychodrama.
Sure.
So I went there to the doctor, and then he did about almost like 45 to 50 hours or something like this. He has to record also. There's a practice in Germany that they have to do it, and then we have to undergo that. And we did that effectively.
Okay.
And after that, he came out with some sort of a result saying that you have a typically issue or a case called gender dysphoria.
Gender dysphoria.
Gender dysphoria,
Okay.
which I myself didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah.
I do contain, because this is something which is there in our body by birth.
Okay.
But this even comes out at the age 85.
Okay.
No one knows what this is.
Sure.
So this came up at that particular point of time. Then he suggested go for an MRI scan.
Yeah.
Brain MRI this time. So which was pending, and he sent me there. And they figured out 100% yes, because the psychiatrist, the one, which I want to tell you, that psychiatrist is the person who really figure out what the issue is with your organs, even before you go into some sort of a diagnosis.
Sure. Sure.
Right? So this is the place where I got diagnosed, and this guy came out with some answer. I had to go for it, and then the brain was a mismatch. Clearly, brain had aligned to the opposite sex, and this is called as non-coherence, mind and the body. So therefore, it has resulted in gender dysphoria, and it has resulted also into the hyper stress, hyper anxiety, and damaging the intestinal valves.
Okay.
And including the liver, in my case. So I was also told, you are very fortunate because you just got very, normally escape. I mean, minimally escape, because it affects heart, liver, kidney. It directly affects the direct organs. It's very difficult. One cannot figure out what this is. So I think we need to know the depths of what this gender dysphoria is. So nowadays it is called as not the gender dysphoria, it's called as gender incongruence. A new term came out with the psychiatric world, saying that, this has to be used in this fashion.
Yeah.
So happy to adopt that procedure, because many of them also identify themselves in various, other countries. It's not exactly like what we treat people in India.
Yeah.
So it's gender incongruence now.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And is this the same as for everybody goes to this? Because we're seeing a lot of cases of younger children, etc., right? Is this the same situation of gender incongruence that happens?
Yes, the younger children has to be really watched, carefully observed, until probably they have attained one sort of a age limit. And this is the job of a psychiatrist. Or a psychologist, a psychotherapist, whatever we call it as. So we really need all these evaluations in place before one has to be assessed, saying that, hey, here it is. And this is the way, treatment has to be provided. A child is now not a female, it can become a male, or vice versa. So that kind of a therapy requires.
Yeah, you think that's an appropriate way? A lot of the one of the reasons why I'm asking this is because you were an adult when you were able to make this choice, right? And we'll come to a few more things that I'd like to understand a little more about your case. But in the US particularly, now there's a huge debate, and it's a widening debate around the world, where kids who are 7, 8 are actually being reassigned. And a lot of things are because I like this color or I like a preference. So the parents are also sort of ensuring the child goes through the gender assignment. And there are cases where the same child has grown and then regretted, saying, why did you do this to me? And therefore, I think I liked what you said also, because you said there's a long process behind it and needs to be encouraged, right?
Absolutely. I think, this is a big issue in US, because, you have all these gender specialists, drag queens, and many gender sensitizing let's say agents, activists, they visit that particular place, and even including the parents. So when the child goes to the kindergarten, so they're being informed
Yes.
saying that your child may encounter something like this and be ready or whatever. And for that, I think there's been an big no-go from the parent community as well in the US. And many government bodies have been taking this issue as very serious. Many states have said goodbye to this kind of a practice that someone adopts even before the age 18, and then they transition within the age 18, and they realize that they did a mistake. And then they try to come back and align to the exact sex that they were assigned at birth. Now, there is a big change that has happened in their own body. They cannot come back. They cannot reverse what they have blocked their puberty, which is the worst part of it. And they cannot be anymore the person that they are anticipating with. Therefore, even the worldwide practices of this physicians or psychiatric association or whatever, they recommend that that sufficient time has to be provided for someone to really come out with that kind of understanding, and also be clear that they're not going to detransition. So if you are doing a detransitioning, you are not only affecting it, you're affecting the whole system. And even assuming that people who transition between age 20 to 40 or something, that's pretty common that we see across the world that's happening. So when someone is transitioning, even then, the assessment has to be 100%. Not like, in India as well, I've seen a lot of, it's a big problem that we encounter even in India. They say, pay me 1,000 rupees, you get a certificate, go to endocrine, then you get your drugs. Simple. So this is not the way it has to be done. Even, for example, someone goes to medical shop and say, hey, I need these tablets, can you give it to me? The medicine chemist, I would say, he doesn't even evaluate. He just says, okay, is it in your name? Can you please show me an ID? No. But this drug has been given to all sorts of people once you have a prescription. Whether they're capable to handle it, their liver is capable to handle it, their whole body is capable of handling it, or their heart, nobody cares. You are getting simply prescription after prescription, and then you've been drugged.
And this entire aspect of gender reassignment, right? It really, really needs far more regulation. It needs a lot of therapy and sort of understanding of really, whether it's just something you're feeling or really it's a life change, right? And like you said, detransitioning is something that's very scary. And this is a very, very big debate that's happening in the US, right? For me, what was shocking is I know of a case which I read where if you are just think about it, in your first 10 years, you're mostly as a child with your mother, right? Especially a boy is more with the mother, identifies more with the colors the mother uses potentially, and then you're gendering the child because the child is a boy. You're giving them all kinds of different toys. So there's a natural conflict of the child's mental, emotional capabilities develop as well. So during that time, if you think the child, just because they like pink or red, is a boy and leans towards her and get the child to change their sex, I think it may not exactly be the right approach without the right assessments being done. So I'm glad that, we're having this open dialogue about such a sensitive topic.
Can I continue a little bit more on this? Because see, gender is a myth. The worldwide psychiatrists, wherever you go, wherever you meet, whoever you meet, the psychiatrists do not agree to it. Gender is a myth. And gender is something so much in different identities. Today, do you know the number of genders that exist?
But 20 plus, if I'm
28.
correct. 28. So how did that happen?
So basically, the people are born. They're born with such kind of different scenarios. There was one doctor who has done a massive research on it. He has scanned about 83,000 brains. Taking the scans of it. Even he says that the Alzheimer's, which is entering, is also grabbed in the early stages. And the brain itself, is infected, and you can see that in the scan, in the MRI that you come across with, and many other topics. But when you cross this kind of a scenario, you go into all sorts of troubles. You really cannot. And the brain functions completely different, and it has a different waves, different structure. its position, and it's been programmed.
Yeah.
You have nothing to control. The whole society is thinking that, there are only two genders assigned at birth.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, you are born like this, you are a female. You're born like this, you are a male.
Male, yeah.
Right? And you are supposed to behave like this. You have been dictated. Do you have the freedom of choosing your own name? No. You don't. You have been assigned some name at the birth. So this is how it actually transitions. I mean, the transaction takes place in distraction, that nobody has their own control.
Yeah.
And you have learned whatever the society has given it to you. And at some sort of a time, you have a disagreement with certain things, because there are certain, let's say by birth issues, you have by birth problems, and you have to live, end of the day. And if you have to live continuously, you need to realign your own self.
Sure.
When you are trying to do that, the society recognizes you, and, you fall under, let's say, for example, agender category.
Yeah.
You are somewhat something called as pansexual.
Yeah.
You are somewhat one as a lesbian or a queer. You are coming with some queer identity. That's pretty strange in my consideration. I think, this requires a lot of refurbishment, a different set of understanding, and also our languages that we use has only 3 genders.
Yes.
So that's it. So we are not actually inclusive in that environment as well.
So Anita, you mentioned there are 28 identities, right? Can you help us understand, what these identities are?
See, it's basically a play between a man and a woman. Someone agrees. Someone agrees both genders. Someone says, I have no gender. Someone says, I don't agree to both genders and I want to be living something different. I'm not even a human. I want to be a lizard. I want to be a dog. We have seen such cases. And in Japan, I think you can see that.
Yeah, of course.
I'm simplifying it to tell it to the public that they can understand it. Because
but is that normal? I mean, for me to live like a dog, I'm asking a very open question with no judgments. I truly believe that everyone can make a choice of their own. But at the end of the day, you're a human being in a certain composition, right? So to say that I feel like a dog, feeling is different, but you're not a dog. And this is the debate, right?
True.
Yeah.
And for this reason, a person was born, I'll just give you a case study on this.
Yeah.
A person was born in Japan,
a
short guy, and he felt like he is a dog. And he went and changed his complete appearance as a dog. He eats dog food. And can you do anything?
Sure, you cannot do anything. And it's a wider debate. But what you're saying is your brain actually changing to make you think that you are a dog?
Yes, and your adaptation is so, your acceptance is so, you are able to digest even such food. You are able to, live like that kind of a animal, for example. So
then would that be a human being at all?
That is the debate.
Yeah.
Whereas someone says, no, I don't need it. I don't like it. Not, it's working in the direction. Whatever. I think it's a difficult question. Because, see, everything, sex is different. Gender identification is different. At sex, someone has to have that kind of a desire to come out with that kind of a feeling. It's nothing but I don't even have to explain. But when it comes to this kind of gender identity and the gender identity crisis itself, even the Supreme Court of India was a little bit, in a very nice way putting this across. A man or a woman is so fluid, can change any point of time. And we cannot define this as one of the regulations. And you can be a woman today, and suddenly you want to be something else tomorrow because of your health regulations and conditions. If that is the case, then how the law should be. And in our country, we have different massive amount of casteism, religions.
Of course.
And our laws are to protect that, and as well as the age limit coming into those kind of initiatives. So that will take its own course of time. And then when we say that man, woman, please give us an approval. So they're a little bit questioning, how many of you do exist here? That's the first question. So unfortunately, we are we are not having the kind of the statistics, who is who.
Yeah.
And somebody did, let's say some sort of a survey. They did some random survey, and it was quite astonishing to come out and then see India as a country has about 59% of population is bisexuals.
Interesting. And that must be a very recent study, right?
Yeah, it's a very recent study.
Yeah.
I think it came out in 2023, if I'm not wrong, during April or May month. Otherwise, I think we didn't know that we have 15% of bisexual rates in our country. And this is quite alarming. And whom are we discriminating? Whom are we excluding? And what sort of issues are taking place? And why are we so behaving in this kind of fashion? This is where I would like to, request everyone to dig into them.
Yeah, no, this is great, because we had a counselor and a therapist who had come in, one of our previous shows, and she was very clear that when she's dealing with the next generation, they're all considering their sexuality and their identity. So she said, everyone is considering it. So this was not, like when we were growing up, it was never something that we even thought, fine, you may have genuine cases where people genuinely felt different, that, you're not a heterosexual, you're not a woman, there are cases, but I never considered. It just happened. Today, the fabric is very different because people have a lot of information. So they're all wondering, what is my identity? It's become a common thing now with touching almost everyone. Yeah. And therefore, the bisexual number is not shocking in terms of Indian population.
Yes. Yeah. So I think what I want to tell you is, in this kind of identification of gender is called as queer.
Yeah.
And those people who don't identify, and then still when they say that this is where we lie.
Yeah.
It's called as questioning.
Yeah.
So there's a completely different sort of two different sort of people. That
so a queer is somebody who's still considering, exploring. They basically they are non-binary.
Yes.
Right? Isn't that the term? So let's talk about this a little bit. Yeah, it's a nice conversation we're having. One is the dimension of sexual preference. The other is identity. It's a gender identity.
Yes.
We are born with sex, and we are gendered to be, either a woman or a man, now third gender, right? So just so that our audience is very clear, right? And I gain any new knowledge as well. A gay is a man who's attracted to another man, and that's a sexual preference. A lesbian is a female attracted to a female.
Yes.
A bisexual is both being attracted to both.
Yes.
Or everybody being attracted to everyone.
Very correct. Yes.
Yeah. A queer, you've explained, is someone who's considering. Yeah. A transsexual is somebody who's is in the body genetically or by sex as a woman, but maybe considering to become a man.
Not exactly.
Okay,
Let me clarify to you this. Because transsexual identity is someone who is saying that I'm not a woman, I want to become a man.
Okay.
I'm not a man, I want to become a woman.
Okay.
This is transsexual identity. When they identify themselves, I want to change.
Sure.
Knowingly, unknowingly.
Okay.
So in my case, it was unknowing. It was like, it was a surprise entry to myself.
Yeah.
But when you go into this kind of a scenario, where they say that, okay, I'm not so-and-so, I'm so-and-so, then a detailed analysis has to be done.
Okay.
And when they are in that kind of a transitioning period, they are called as
transsexual.
Sexual.
And a transgender person is one who is actually transitioned.
More a psychiatric term.
Okay.
Before they are actually aligned to the kind of gender that they're experiencing.
Okay, sure.
So let's say I transition as a woman. So I got an identity of a woman today. And I am a woman. So therefore, what happens is, it's a identity. Now I'm a trans identity as a woman. I'm a trans woman now. So like, for example, some woman converts as a man. So it's trans man. Simple.
Yeah.
So when someone is transitioning, it's transsexual.
When they have transitioned, or even before, when they are getting the clarity of an identity change, also they are transgender.
Yes. Okay. So it's transitioning period. Somewhat it is called as that term. But mainly people use it also to say that, is a transsexual. He was a transsexual,
Sure.
Something like this.
So transgender is a person who's changed their gender, basically.
Yes.
Okay, essentially. So what is cisgender?
Cisgender is male or female. So you are actually aligning to the sex at birth.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
And pansexual?
You have multiple identity crises, including animals they would like to be living with. So this is how this identity is continuing.
Yeah. And ultimately, what we always see also around us is the eunuch community, which is the hijras.
Yes.
How are they different from, what we've spoken about, from a gender identity and sex perspective?
Yeah, hijras are someone in India.
Yeah.
They're a culture, they're a religion. Our people don't know it much, many of them, and they feel that, oh no, you're born with some identity and you had a crisis, and then now you identify as a woman. Which, true, not true, because the hijra community is a religion where someone born with that identity, or a male, for example, enjoys to be living as a female for the rest of the life. So this is the reason why Government of India came out with this kind of a checkbox. You might have seen the railway forms or wherever. Transgender, third gender. So they've given that kind of a.
So the hijra community, the eunuchs fall into that also?
Yes, that's where they fall as third gender. They identify as third genders. And as well, along with them, we also have other community. Like, for example, we have Aravani, Jogappa, Kinnar, all these people. They all come under that kind of a category. But, they existed since various Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga.
Of course.
All sorts of yugas, including the Mahabharata time period. And that's where the Aravani got birth. So that's with Lord Shri Krishna. You see this. So that's a lot of information that one has to deal with.
But are they born with a birth defect?
No, they are not born with the birth defect. They're not actually intersex. Intersex is a person where someone is born with both genitalia. And they get to decide after the age 18 to which gender they align. So accordingly, the operations are taking place. But if they decide to say that, no, I want to be so and so, that's a different subject altogether. But that is again, they have the complete freedom. They're born in that kind of a category, which they can decide to live.
That's intersex. And hijras?
Hijras are someone who's born regular sex, like as I said, male, assigned. It's like, doing your sacred thread ceremony, or in Muslims, you have some sort of a ritual culture, whatever. So it goes as per that. Any male born gets to enjoy the femininity for the rest of their life.
Understood. Okay.
So this is how this Hijra or Aravani, Jogappa, whatever, all those communities do. And what happens is, unfortunately, before the year 2014, I would say, and 2019, so many people went and joined this community. Even today, the kind of awareness is not there.
Okay.
So people are thinking that someone who is transsexual identity has to go and fall into this kind of a community, and they have to live that kind of a life.
Okay.
But your assigned caste at birth could be different. And then leave that caste and go unknowingly get engaged with this kind of a community.
Okay.
Which they're not supposed to. Because they have to live their own independent life if they want to. And now the 2019 Government of India regulations have eased out a lot of things. And wonderful rights. Like a regular citizen, you have the rights to live, and even to protect a transgender person who's changing the sex is completely supported by the Government of India. And I think, someone has to utilize this properly. And the knowledge is very essential. And many, many people, you want to believe the age of 57, 62, 68, after looking at me, came back to me, said, Anita ma'am, you're so courageous. Even I wanted to change. I'm unmarried. All of them are unmarried even today. And they were afraid of the society. Now they want to change this.
Wow.
And they are requesting me, what should I do? I said, please go to a psychiatrist, get yourself assigned. Assessed firstly, whether you have to, you can change officially. If you really deserve, they will help you with the process. If you don't deserve, then I'm so sorry. That is anyway a psychiatric-related subject. So this is how I'm able to help. I'm suggesting them that they have to live with a wonderful life forward, not to go and fall prey for such things.
No, that's great. And tell us a little bit about, the whole process of changing your sex, right? What all happens there? Essentially, you go to a psychiatrist, you're clear then, And then, like, I know a few things about hormones and operations, etc.
Sure.
Can you help us, if you're open to it, to help the listeners understand what is that entire experience that you had to go through to become a woman?
Let me tell you this. There's no process in India.
Okay.
There is no procedure. There is no standard. There is nothing. And when I try to inquire with people, they were saying that, see, 2019, we got this judgment and all these, this information. Now, 2020 was a pandemic. 21, 22, we have suffered a lot. Now, 23 onwards, we have started to work.
Sure.
So we have a loss of 3+ years.
And this is the government bodies you're talking about.
Government bodies. Yeah. And the first training at the AIMS, All India Medical Sciences Institute, was done in the year 2023.
Okay.
At Delhi. And I was indirectly participating, not directly. And I know that, the doctor was also responsible for training them, because he bought an organization called WPATH from US. In his own money. Government did not spend any money, for your information. And they said, okay, let me understand, please bring them. So this doctor, poor guy, he put his money from his pocket. His name is Dr. Sanjay Sharma. He's actually my friend. He was a wing commander in the past.
Okay.
Fantastic person, worked for India all through. And, now it's a shame that, we don't have money. We don't want to spend money. We want to know, what is this WPATH? Can we get ourselves trained?
So there is no gender reassignment operation.
No, there's no procedure as
there's no procedure.
In other countries, they have defined these procedures very, very well. But in our country, we haven't yet defined our procedures. This is the problem that we are facing.
So are people like yourself going abroad and getting it?
Yes.
Okay.
They're getting information from abroad. They're taking information from WPATH. Many of the doctors have read everything online, and they're practicing more silently, privately.
Sure.
And today, for example, I've seen many doctors, they come back and say, you look at our name boards, you look at our information. We are afraid to put, we are also supporting transsexuals or any other gender identity, because we will not get any regular crowd as our patients. So this is the status what we are going through.
Wow.
So keeping this, Government of India is still working. 2025 is what is expected. I'm not sure. I was told by someone that 2025 September is when you can actually expect the regulations to come in, a process to come in. However, keeping this at the background, why did I tell you all this? It's very important. Now, keeping at the background, there are some larger institutions, medical institutions, they are practicing this in a very proper way. They are following the WPATH guidelines. Not like, you hear from a hijra or somebody on the street, you start to consume medicines, go to the chemist, and you buy whatever you want to. No, it will affect the entire system if you try to do it, because they are very powerful drugs. They may look very tiny, but they are extremely powerful.
Yeah, but mainly it is drug assistance that's given to you, administered to you, right?
Yes, the drug administration happens because your body requires that kind of, let's say, that wonderful effect.
Yeah.
It's not like, you just want to go and take, and I want to get the result tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And I want to have this beautiful woman in me now. It takes about 3 to 10 years of time. Wow. They say that you have to go through this kind of hormone therapy. Do not go through any sort of operations. Do not go through any sort of urgency. Wait for it. This is what.
So 3 to 10 years for a full gender change, essentially.
Oh, wow. Full gender change, and someone has to give that kind of a time. They cannot come back and say, "Hey, I want to go through this and I want to be like this." But in my case, it was 45 years as a man. And you see that voice is the only thing which is like really irritating. But I actually don't care, because if I have to go through this kind of a voice surgery, there are plenty of surgeries. When you go to a plastic surgeon, they will offer you a wonderful list of surgeries. They will break the skull.
Yeah.
They will tell you what all they can do. So it's quite fascinating. They'll feminize and do all those things. And I don't think so. I need to go for any sort of surgery, because I'm already aligned. And it has, most of them, I have seen everything has come naturally to me, and I am not aligned to any of those activities.
So if we are open to talk, you can always not respond to this as well. have all the body parts been changed? Suppose you're moving to becoming a man to a woman, your sex organs also require to be changed if you made that choice for a surgery. Right?
That is the one which has to go for surgery, unfortunately. Rest everything can come in automatically or change automatically. But in case of a female, they have to undergo at least a minimum of 3 surgeries. In case of male to female, they have to undergo at least 1 surgery. The rest are fine. This is how the whole procedure is.
So it involves medication, it involves hormone therapy, change, and it also involves surgery. So there are 3 different components.
Exactly.
Right?
So first someone goes to psychiatrist, then you go to visit the endocrinologist, along with your physician, has to be notified, because the kind of drugs your physician would prescribe, if they prescribe you with Dolo 650 or, Dolo 650 is a peppermint in India. So if someone wants to take the peppermint, you're not supposed to when you're on a hormone therapy. So, it will adversely affect. And then also it can be such a drug, it can even kill you on the spot. So better, people have to go through this kind of, consultation with the endocrine and as well as the physician. Both has to be, and then they have to continue this journey. And as well, it's preferably that someone keeps a card in their pocket, because the other person should not mistake them for any sort of these identities, or if they're on hormone therapy, because they can go into thrombosis. If they encounter an accident, they can die because of any sort of issues. Their life is very, very fragile. It's like a glass. The glass is even more thinned out. So firstly, we are at a glass, but imagine a very thin glass. So now that kind of a glass has to survive for the rest of the life, and in anticipation of so many things. And there is so much of discrimination coming up. There is so much of problems happening in the medical side itself. And because there are no trained doctors in our society, they don't even care who you are. They just simply prescribe, they write some medications. The chemists don't even look at it whether there is some antibiotics.
But that's just really scary, because some of the things that I wanted to talk about today is how has the Transgender Persons Act of 2019 really come into play? And you said that literally there is nothing that has been in a structured way put together, and the work is just about beginning, right? That's really scary.
It is scary, and it has. It's also a topic where none of the authorities are educated on it. None of the societies have the awareness. Everyone says, "Oh, we have a protected law," but now where is it? Who is implementing it? Who is practicing it? Nobody. And do the metro people know it? No. Sorry. They don't even know which identity travels in which class. But they have segregated their trains so very well. And even, for example, Indian Railways, do you know it? No. Is there any inclusive restrooms? No. So you have any passengers who's sensitized, who's coming along with you? No. Everything is a no. And you go to any government organization, do you know? No. And what they have seen are the beggars who are standing on the streets.
The hijras.
Or on the highways for prostitution, unfortunately. So this is India. So still after 2019, nobody is using those laws, number one. Nobody is practicing the kind of awareness spread. Number 3 is who is implementing them. Nobody is doing anything.
And Anita, it's not even that. You don't know the number of people. So 2011 was the last clear, survey which said we had close to 500,000. That's 5 lakh people. But I think there's a lot more.
No, I think it is. It's only probably in a Dharavi sort of an environment. You find 600,000 people in one place.
But it's also our own social taboo that comes in the way of identification.
Mona, the problems are like there are many robbers, many loan defaulters, criminals, including the undercover operation agents, are using this kind of community to escape. And they are seen often on the streets in disguise. And if you see often, any sort of these identities are not actual identities that they're supposed to be. They're too manly. That's not something what a society can accept. They may say that we don't have money, but it's a lie. And that kind of hierarchy that we are talking about, the Guru Chela system, and governed by a mafia is something massive, which nobody is interested in our country to dwell with.
But does the transgender community get affected? In the sense, I know the Hijra community inherently is affected by that, particularly in India.
Very true. Yeah. They have affected and they have welcomed it also, because for their survival, they need some money, and there are so many people who have gotten older and they need money for their survival, and unfortunately they have to encourage such people. And they have to encourage these third-party influencers who are actually really damaging their identity.
And this happening in the city as well?
Very much, yes. In the rural, in the city, and you see the kind of massive, drive that happens even in the tier 2, tier 3 cities of India. Is huge. And people see transgenders or a trans woman, especially, as a commodity. Or needed to be meant for finish.
That's really, really, really scary, because you think an act has come in, and of course it takes time to be implemented, but if it's sort of making the situation a little worse than better, then I think we really need to think through a lot, right?
So, see, it's a inflicted, whatever you can call it, as whichever sort of a word that you want to use it. I think our society requires a lot of education, lot of awareness, and a change. In fact, one gentleman, he said that, because of my gender dysphoria, I was explaining him everything, but he is totally reluctant to even talk about it. He said, even if you remove your shirts, you don't get 50 rupees. I said, excuse me, what are you talking about? So that's what he meant. And this is how they perceive any trans woman, even though you're educated, uneducated, you say you're a trans woman, immediately you're branded as, this is something extremely, very cheap mentality.
That's really sad.
Whether, you are an asexual, for example, an identity. Again, you can have a multiple identity at times. I am a trans woman, asexual. Whereas I don't have any, interest in anything other than doing some sort of real progress to the country. Whereas these people mistake my identity for the sexuality purposes. Let's say they repackage it, rebrand it, make it as a nice
It's still looked at from that lens, right? So how do we make a society that's inclusive?
Inclusive requires even for regular people. Regular people are also isolated today.
And regular, we mean is heterosexual, sex as born.
Cisgenders also.
Cisgenders.
Including cisgender.
Of course.
Regularly born people, they identify so-and-so in a company, for example. Even they are in isolation.
And inclusiveness, Anita, less from a job. Job inclusion is just such a small thing, right? But how do we change our mindsets? What is the approach?
You go to, let's say, I'll just tell you an example, okay? You go to a temple. Do you think that, a person is just simply walking straight to the god, abode, and then comes out immediately? Lots and lots of people are standing in a queue. Is that inclusive? I'm just telling you. What is inclusive?
Unfortunately,
Unfortunately, or the power in our country, or something else. So, many things like this come across. Every day we come across with such people. The more famous you are getting that kind of exposure. So this is very unfortunate anywhere across the planet. We are not an inclusive, let's say, world, first of all. I'm not talking about India. India is far beyond. It's like really, really, really behind. So if at all we need to make an effort, first of all, we need to learn humanity. What is humanity, firstly? And this is where I started campaigning on this. And peace. Peace is very important for us. Not just going and sitting with a guru and he teaches you some meditation and all these things. It's not going to give you peace. Are you having a peaceful mindset? No, you're not. You're running with so much of problems all through the day, all through your night. You're not able to sleep well. You're not able to, so many problems. Then you come with an inclusivity issue. So whereas it's not included. We are talking of sexual identities, they're not included. Moment you utter that, you're not included. Like, for example, what happens in the Middle East, for example. They kill you. They stone you to death.
Whereas in Thailand, it's so accepted.
Yes, Thailand, it is so accepted. And whereas if you go to Africa, again, you're not accepted. You're being killed instantly, you'll be killed. with any sort of identity. So is it really inclusive? No. You are coming with some sort of a God fear in some places and say, because so-and-so God said, so-and-so person said, I'm, rejecting this as an identity. But you're not a human.
So how do we then, in your view, how do we then start baby steps towards actually being sensitive to one another?
Very important, Mona. That's what I've been talking in the public also many, many times. That, simple awareness is extremely important. First step, education. Education is failing. Assuming that this kind of a problem has happened to you, directly to you, whoever you are watching, how will you react? How will you take your life? Are you able to firstly accept? Many people say, no, I would die. That's a different scenario. That is not something what we are looking for. You're not supposed to be dying. You're supposed to be somebody, and that is where you have been assigned at birth. You come with your birth. So now you have this kind of an issue. How can you reject it, firstly? And the second thing is this kind of a myth that we have learned. And which religion says no? Which religion says that you have to be so inhuman and kill these kind of identities? Right? So, and which even say, the religion says that you have to discriminate people everywhere. No. So, firstly, I think there is a very clean sweep essential, the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, I would say, that at least with us, we have to do the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Someone has to do that kind
with the transgender community.
Anywhere. Anywhere. See, this is where I started 2 hashtags this August 15th, 2024. That India has hashtag 1, India has no prostitute. Hashtag 2, India has no beggar. So
that's beautiful.
I want them to be out, and I want them to be productive. Not to be called as an India is a begging country anymore. So we are not beggars, and we are not snake shammers. Because when I went to Germany, we were only the Indian community was only 1,800 people. And I lived for 23 years. Last year I came back, 2023. And I know that, I've seen a lot of racism, lot of different opinions. The media is coming with something. And we were also so discriminated unless until I think, the kind of image started to rise up since 2015. We've seen ourselves in a very different fashion. But until 2015, we were nothing less than a dog. Because we didn't have opportunity. We had to live in a country which was so discriminatory, for example, and they were good at something, for example, right? And we wanted to learn that, we wanted to contribute that kind of a tech growth, and that was our fascination. That's what made us to live, but nothing after that. And then I thought really, really well, because I'm experienced globally with my trade and my presence. Studied also in California and many places. So I know what this whole thing is. And I want to bring that kind of a change. And probably I'm doing that social service.
As we come to the end of this beautiful conversation, right? What is it that each one of us, as Indians, what can we do to make a difference in this space?
Very simple. See, today we are in a very vulnerable state. The younger population is in Instagram, is in TikTok, is in so many other things. And these kind of, medias use something called as the dopamine effect. And that is actually harming everyone and the kind of interest. And it is taking away the kids completely. And this is done nothing but a social war to distract one country's single population, for example. And what's happening in the US, and why is so many people are so confused. And the ratio of suicidal effect with a girl child between the age group of 12 and 17 has risen to 51%. The latest study says. And you're not eating healthy. You go to any restaurant, you're not eating healthy. So I think the change has to come a long way. And I'm sure that people has to realize this. And I'm sure also the rule makers has to enter into this. So this is something which is alarming. We need innovation. We need the young brains to work towards a productive India. If we want to be an Indian guru, India has to become a worldwide guru. It has to change its perspective.
And that ultimately helps our mindset as well towards creating a more inclusive society.
Innovations will have to increase here. Otherwise, we are left out.
So how can me as a citizen of this country contribute I'm speaking on behalf of so many people who are listening, that how do we contribute to the transgender or LGBTQ plus community? How do we, first of all, I love what you said, by the way, create awareness that itself builds to the contribution of like an inclusive society.
I am talking to one bank today, for example. I'm just giving you food of thoughts. They can do independently. If you do it, you like it, just use my hashtags. India has no beggars. India has no prostitute. So if they do so, great. And I'm working with one bank, which I want to bring that in the media soon. And this would be like, for example, they can become their agents or something like this, train. But they don't need to sell. They can go and identify some people and give it to the actual salespeople.
Who is they? They is?
Meaning, any sexual identity, for example, who's finding it difficult, who's not able to meet that kind of an expectation. They can get about 30% of their earnings, whatever the policy they close, they're earning handsomely for that. And their life is set right.
So enable through jobs. Create jobs, include them through empowering people.
And my own foundation I'm coming out with, I think this can also be implemented with other people too. I'm coming out with lots of projects. Let's say a bus to Ayodhya, and some restaurants, chains, and so many other initiatives. So this can also be another topic on encouraging them to become independent, guiding them, suggesting them, giving that kind of, that right inputs, including some sort of a microfinancing to them. That would really help. If at all we have to stand like this. And the other one is, of course, innovations. I have an innovation lab now today. And MyBuddy is my first project. That is coming up. First project is MyBuddy. And the second one is Smart Jar, Kitchen Jar, for example. A lot of it is coming up. So one by one, I would prefer to implement it.
So Anita, what is MyBuddy? Why are you doing this? What is it? What's the impact from this?
See, MyBuddy is a very important project. I feel that it's for India or even the worldwide. This possibly, if we do it the right way and if we have the right people participate in it, I think we can change the tech industry itself, the way it is appearing today, the kind of apps that we are using, And then the other one is people are getting more lonelier and lonelier every day basis. We are losing that kind of health on the ground. Being lonely can create into a lot of issues, and many believe that it's worse than a cancer. It can actually kill you. Today, people are so lonely. They open the applications. They have some sort of a chat outside. They have no friends, meaning a real friend, where they can actually get the kind of entertainment that they used to get many years ago. But whereas today, it is so commercial. Everything is so limited to time. People don't have the exact thing, the time to spend with each other. I'm more worried about the whole, the kind of a growth and the kind of world where we're going in. Soon after that, are you in a state where you can say you are in that kind of environment where you feel that you are engaged, or are you in isolation? Are you feeling lonely? Whatever you do, you are feeling lonely. It's not the community itself. I'm talking about the regular people itself. So this requires a lot of attention and a change in this planet. And keeping loneliness is one of the major examples. And I have worked in this kind of a social, impact project. And also to bring in many other social causes. I have considered various other factors and put them into one particular structure. Yes, robots are available, but this is a personal bot which will actually stay with you, keep you 24/7. It can even be your, the reason why I said MyBuddy, it's going to be MyBuddy always.
And these are all technology-driven, apps which help content consumption in an appropriate way.
So it will place a lot of different levels, these kind of human beings, and including this, MyBuddy is able to generate a universal income system. So not only to these identities, even for the regular public, we are looking forward to include, make an universal income system, so that this will be easing the kind of financial issues in the burden. And second thing is to have the data in India. Not for, we give it away to other people who know it. And also to contribute the kind of development and tech. so many other topics. And it's not only related to this community itself. It is something to do and encourage them not to beg,
Sure.
not to stay on the road, change themselves. And whoever it is, whatever they are trying to do, they have to be productive, not for begging. And I would also say that, please stop encouraging anything. It could be a tradition, it could be a customs, it could be anything, but you have to bring the change for India. Unless you bring the change, how will India change?
That is so beautiful. I love 24/7 for 2047, right? Yeah, absolutely. I love it and I love it. So thank you for joining us today. I've learned so much. I'm truly humbled. There's so much more to learn in this space. It's ever evolving, and maybe we'll have you back as well.
Sure.
And get deeper into it at some point. But this was beautiful, and it was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and wish you all the best for B Vitamin. And I hope you bring a lot of success, a lot of courage. I think it takes a lot of energy from your side to be in this kind of passion where you bring in the talent, tell the world that this has to change, and I'm grateful and wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much.